सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः. In the last patha, we saw the Nastika Darshana, Charvaka, Bauddha and Jaina Darshanas. Today we'll see what are the Pramanas. Prama, Karanam, Pramanam. The means to knowledge is called as Pramana. The valid means to knowledge. Various darshanas have various Pramanas. Some consider one single Pratyaksha as a Pramana, direct perception. So whatever is grasped through the sense organs, 5 sense organs, what are the Vishayas? Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. These are known through the sense organs. Shrotrendriya, the sense organ of hearing. Shabda, for Shabda, Shrotrendriya, the sense organ of hearing. Not the ears, but the Indriya which is there in the ears. In the Golakas of ears, the Indriyas which are sitting in them, they are called as Shrotrendriya. Then for Sparsha, Twagindriya, which is all over the skin, the sense organ of touch. Then Rupa, for Rupa, the Chakshurindriya, which knows the color and form, meaning the eyes, but not the eyes, Indriyas within the eyes, within the Chakshu Golaka, the Chakshurindriya, the sense organ of vision. Then Rasa, for Rasa, the sense organ of taste, the tongue. Incidentally, the tongue has a twofold purpose. One is as Rasanendriya, and it also has the Vagendriya, the Indriya of speech. Nonetheless, here we want to know about the function of the tongue as a Jnanendriya, as a Pramana for Rasa, for taste. Then the final sense organ of smell, olfactory organ, which is sitting in the nose, that is Ghanendriya, for Ghana, for Gandha, to cognize Gandha. So all these 5 sense organs help us understand the Prapancha outside, and they are the Karanas or instruments or valid means for knowledge. Further, there is an Antakarana which connects these Indriyas to Atma or oneself, and thereby one gains the knowledge of all the Vishayas, all the objects, through the sense organs, through the mind, and then one gets knowledge. So these put together, all of these put together are one Pratyaksha Pramana. They generate Pratyaksha Prama. They generate Pratyaksha, direct perception. Through direct perception, they generate knowledge. Charvakas consider this Pratyaksha Pramana, direct perception or direct cognition, as the only Pramana. Which is why we have something similar in English also, a phrase very well known: I believe what I see. So by seeing, we don't really mean only seeing. More than half the input is through eyes. That is why to meditate we close our eyes. We have seen this earlier. So what is really meant by Pratyaksha, although it is said as what is directly perceived, it is perception not only through eyes, through the sight of vision, the sense of vision, sense of sight, but also through hearing, touch, etc. So Charvaka, Nastika says that I trust only Pratyaksha Pramana. There is no other Pramana. So, although I do not want to look at more of refutation of this, still to introduce another Pramana, we look at a little bit of what do you say? Little bit of lack in considering Pratyaksha as the only Pramana, shortcomings thereof. So, if you ask the Charvaka as to have you seen your great great grandfather, what would the answer be? He would have seen his grandfather, great grandfather, but great great grandfather, definitely not. With whatever long life one has, still great great grandfather would not be seen in Pratyaksha right now for anyone. But then, does he consider that such a person existed? What should he say and as answer to this? If he has any senses, meaning if he is a sensible person, he has to say, yes, my great great grandfather did exist. Why? Because I am there, my father is there, my grandfather is there or was there, whom I have seen. Therefore, he should say the great great grandfather whom I did not see and I am not seeing now as well, that kind of a person did exist. So, which Pramana did he use there? We have to say Anumana. So, Anumana is a second Pramana, inference. Because I exist, because my father existed, before him my grandfather existed, and so on, I have to accept that great great grandfather of mine did exist. So Charvaka's Pratyaksha being the only Pramana is absolute nonsense. Thereby Anumana is introduced as second Pramana. Almost everyone, every Astika Darshana and Bauddhas and Jainas also has Nastika Darshanas. Sorry, they accept Anumana, inference, as a second Pramana. And most of these Darshanikas use Anumana only. When they discuss philosophy, they use Anumana most of the times, not only, but most of the times. They fall back on Anumana or they use Anumana to fall back on some other Pramana. Even Astika Darshanas such as Sankhyas and Naiyayikas, Vaisheshikas, definitely they use Tarka, Anumana, and then they say, oh, Shruti also says so. So what is Anumana Pramana? Anumana Pramana, very well known example, the stock example is Parvato Vanniman Dhumavatvat. The Parvata has Agnihi, Vannihi. The mountain which is seen through Pratyaksha Pramana, where the fire is not seen, definitely has fire. Why? Because smoke is being seen on the mountain. Because the mountain has smoke which is visible, therefore the mountain must have fire. It uses Vyapti, Yatra Yatra Dhumaha Tatra Tatra Vannihi. Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. An example is needed. The example is Yatha Pakashalayam. The way in the old school kitchen where the wood is used as fuel for generating fire, and on that fire cooking is done, there used to be smoke seen. For Vedantin, even the invariable concomitance between smoke and fire is established, that is sufficient. But Nayayika will say Yatra Yatra. Wherever more than once smoke and fire have been seen together, there the fire was the cause for smoke. Therefore, wherever you see smoke, there has to be fire. By this Vyapti, which is invariable concomitants, they are seen together. Therefore, one can infer fire on the mountain when the smoke is seen on mountain. The mountain is pratyaksha, smoke is pratyaksha, dhumaha, and the vanni, agnihi, which is apratyaksha, not seen, is inferred. So this is anumana pramana. The knowledge born of that is called as anumiti prama, anumitihi. The third pramana is shabda pramana. Shabda pramana, which is acceptable to astika darshanikas, where shabda is aptavakya, janya. So shabda is what you hear through the ears. That is pratyaksha. But this shabda is not sound, this shabda is vakya, the statement which is meaningful and it is uttered by an apta purusha. Apta purusha means a trustworthy person. It can be a person or it can be shruti. Shruti meaning veda vakya, veda vedanta vakya, smriti also. Basically, whatever is a trustworthy source to you, that is means to knowledge. It creates some shabda bodha, some understanding takes place, and unless countered in loka also, in the world, we accept it as pramana. So it is independent. All pramanas have to be independent. They cannot have dependent existence on another pramana, meaning no two pramanas work in the same area, exact same area. There may be two sources of knowledge, but only one is the real source of knowledge. The other can generate that knowledge, but what is available only through a particular pramana, that alone is a pramana for that particular vishaya, the subject matter, or the object as the case may be. So here shabda pramana in the world, if you are let's say going somewhere, imagine a village area where your Google Maps do not work and you are lost, or you are just walking and you do not know where a particular house is or what a particular area is. You ask a passerby who you assume is a localite, so you ask the person for directions. Now even if it is a single person who has told you a particular way to reach a destination that you desire to reach, still you trust that person. You trust the statement, the vakya, the direction given by that person. This is shabda pramana. It generates knowledge. You trust it unless countered by someone else. If there is a contrary statement or contrary pramana to it, then that shabda pramana is not leading to valid knowledge. But this is the case for all pramanas. Pratyaksha pramana also, you see something. Let's say you are walking in a desert, you see water, but it happens to be a mirage water. Pratyaksha pramana tells you that there is water because you are seeing water. But as you go closer to the place where you are seeing water, you see that there is no water at all. So it is countered by the same pratyaksha pramana, or someone else tells you shabda pramana that there is no water, you are deluded, you are seeing a mirage. So it is countered by another pramana, shabda pramana. So it's true, unless countered, the knowledge holds good. This is the general case. Most of us agree with it, most of us behave in that manner. Therefore it is anubhava siddha. Some others wouldn't agree, but this is the general case. We are seeing by anubhava what is agreeable to us, that whichever is the pramana that generates some knowledge, unless that knowledge is countered, we assume it to be right. Thereby the third shabda pramana is also valid means of knowledge. In the case of Vedas, alaukika vishaye vedaha eva pramanam, ekam eva pramanam. For swarga ityadi vishaya, Ishvara, Sarga, means to Sarga, means to moksha, what moksha is, Atma Swarupa, Brahma Swarupa, Ishvara Swarupa, ityadi, for all of these which are Atindriya Vishayas, which cannot be cognized by Pratyaksha Pramana with the sense organs. For those, the only Pramana is Veda. And whatever Veda says is categorized as Shabda Pramana. It is Apaurushaya Vakya, not spoken or not produced by any living being, any human being. So Vedas are Apaurushaya Vakya and they are Alaukika Pramana. These three are generally accepted by all Astika Darshanas. There is a fourth Pramana which is acceptable to Nayayikas, Vaisheshikas, which is Upamana Pramana. Upamana Pramana is similarity. An example which gives similarity between one and the other, where one is known, the other is not known. There, the stock example is Gavayaha Govat. So somebody who has seen a bull and not seen Gavaya. Gavaya is, what do you call it? The kind of a wild bull, which is ox, which is in the forest. So somebody who is a forest dweller or who stays near the forest, that person has seen Gavaya, but you have not seen what Gavaya is, you do not know what Gavaya is. So he tells you it is Go Sadrusha, it is similar to a bull. You have seen a bull, so this is something similar to bull. Now what happens is that when you see the Gavaya, when you visit a forest area or somewhere, a zoo, and you happen to come across something which looks like a bull, but it is not a bull, you are sure it is not a bull, but it is like a bull, then when you recall the statement made by your friend that this Gavaya is similar to Gau, similar to a bull, then that recalled sentence and the Pratyaksha Pramana, where you are seeing the Akruti, the shape, the form, the Gavaya Pinda, what is called as Pinda, Sharira. When you are looking at that and you recall the statement, oh, this is similar to bull, and I know the bull, this is similar to bull, that person has told me, my friend, therefore you conclude that this that you are seeing right now is Gavaya, Upamana Pramana. This is the fourth Pramana. Then there is something called as Arthapatti Pramana. Vedantins accept it. The category of Purvamimamsakas accept it. Arthapatti Pramana. Arthapatti Pramana, sometimes Nayayikas include it in Anumana, not sometimes, they include it in Anumana. They don't have a separate word for it. So sometimes some of them call it as multi-step inference, multi-step Anumana. So it is Anumana with multiple steps, it is not a single step. And this is the reason that there are many an ingredient to Arthapatti, two-step inference or something. Therefore, it is categorized into a different Pramana as Arthapatti. It uses something called as otherwise not possible, or it is called as something that, with a phrase, if you can explain it, is that conclusion where you say, oh, otherwise it is not possible. If it is possible otherwise, then it is not Arthapatti. Only if it is not possible otherwise, it is called as Arthapatti. And otherwise not possible in Sanskritam is called as Anyatha Anupapattihi. So if Anyatha Upapatti, meaning otherwise it is tenable, then it will not be Arthapatti, but otherwise not possible, Anyatha Anupapattihi. Through that you establish it is an Arthapatti Pramana. The stock example is Pino Devadattaha. Who is that Pinaha? Pinaha Devadatta, who is also qualified by Diva Abhunjanaha. Abhunjana means one who does not eat, is not eating. When? Diva, during the day. During the day, Devadatta who is not eating, and which Devadatta who is stout, who is fat. So this Pinaha Devadatta who Diva Abhunjanaha, not eating during the day for many days. You have been with Devadatta and he has not been eating during the day, the entire day, but he remains to be fat or stout. So what is the conclusion? You know that, you know the Vyapti, you know that eating food leads to growing weight, stoutness or fatness, and this person does not eat during the day. So the only conclusion that you can draw and call it valid is what? An imagination. Some kalpana has to be done that he eats during the night. Ratri bhojanam diva abhunjanasya devadattasya peenasya ratri bhojanam kalpitam. It has to be imagined, that is accepted to be valid. Of course, like other pramanas, unless proven otherwise. So he has to be eating at night. Otherwise, this peenatva is not possible. He cannot continue to remain fat. His fat will be eaten away by hunger if he remains hungry across multiple weeks and months. So he has to be eating at night. He is doing upavasa only during the day. So this is the arthapatti pramana, anyatha anupapatti. Unless he eats at night, his peenatva is not possible. Therefore, arthapatti is the fifth pramana. The last pramana acceptable to Bhattamimamsakas and Vedantins. Vedantins agree with Bhattas, Kumarila Bhattas, Mimamsa, Purva Mimamsa. There is a Chitsuki statement, Vyavahare Bhattanayaha. In Vyavahara, in Laukika, meaning not in Adhyatma Shastra, but in the Laukika Shastra, meaning in the Karma Kanda Ityadi, we agree with Bhattas, Kumarila Bhatta followers, and thereby we agree with the sixth Pramana also, which is Anupalabdhi Pramana. Anupalabdhi Pramana is very simple. How do you know that Ghata is not there, Ghatapata or anything, or Gaja is not there in the room? How do you know that the elephant is not there in the room? Need not be your room, but in a zoo also, how do you know the elephant is not in the cage, or you have gone on a trip and you do not see elephant in front of you? Let's say, why think of a zoo? Why cage animals? Instead of that, let's imagine that you are in a cage, meaning we are in a cage, we are in a van and traveling in a forest, but the entire 4-5 hours that we have struggled, we haven't seen an elephant or a tiger. So let's just take simple example, elephant. We want to see a tusker, we haven't seen a tusker. How do we know that we haven't seen a tusker? Anupalabdhi Pramana. Right in front of our eyes, there is no elephant. Why? Because we don't see it. So what are you seeing really? Are you seeing absence of elephant? So there, Anupalabdhi is considered as a separate Pramana, meaning we know that a particular elephant that we are looking for isn't there, only by its absence. So the absence is also cognized. For a Tarkika, Nyaya Vaisheshika, this is not a separate Pramana. They say that whichever Indriyas see the presence of something, the same Indriya also sees the absence of it and its Jati also. So by whichever Pramana, by Chakshurindriya, you see Ghata. Ghata Abhava and Ghatatva. Ghatatva Jati is also cognized by the same Indriya. Therefore, they consider this Abhava of Gatha also known through the Pratyaksha Pramana. But you cannot say that I know Anupalabdhi, meaning absence of elephant through the eyes. You are not seeing the elephant through the eyes, but you cannot say I am seeing the elephant's absence through the eyes. So for that, this Anupalabdhi is a separate pramana. The way you see something not being there, that is through this Anupalabdhi pramana. These are the 6 pramanas whereby we'll look at some darshanas when we revisit them, in contrast to which pramana is acceptable to them, and if need be, how it is refuted or an additional pramana has to be accepted. We'll see in the upcoming pathas. In the next patha, we'll look at khyati chatushtaya or pancha khyatis. So khyati, as I said, is also knowledge, but it is that knowledge which is taken in contrast with the example of the Vedantin or any other who does not consider the world to be real. Real in the sense, the real, really real. Atyantika Sat or Atyanta Sat. Just like Atma, whatever is the Satta of Atma, Paramarthika Satta, at that level, those who do not consider the Satta of the Prapancha, for them this Khyati is asked as to what Khyati is this. Or for everyone, if they consider the Brahma, even in the real world, they say this world is real, but sometimes you see the mirage water, or you mistake the rope for snake, or you see silver instead of shell on a seashore with bright sunlight all around. So whatever shines there, you miss it as a shell and you see it as silver. These are all Brahmasthanas or Swapna. So all these are Pratibhasika. So they have only, most of the others except for Advaita Vedantins, they have 2 sattas, 2 levels of truth. One is the Paramarthika Satta, in which the entire Prapancha is also included, the world. And there is Pratibhasika Satta, which is the cognition in dream, the level of truth that the dream has, which is not at the same level of Paramarthika Satta, or the Brahmasthana where you see rope for a snake or silver in the place of shell, or mirage water instead of the desert sand. All these are in Pratibhasika Satta. Vedantin, Advaita Vedantin has a 3rd level of Satta, which is called as Vyavaharika Satta, and it is differentiated from the Pratibhasika Satta, at least in Srishti Drishtivada. In Drishti Srishtivada, Vyavaharika Satta is collapsed into Pratibhasika Satta. But what is this Vyavaharika Satta? It is the level of reality where you make transactions, the empirical world. Till Jnanodaya takes place, till the Brahmajnana takes place, it is considered as real. In Jagrata Avastha, it is different from the Swapna Avastha. Swapna Avastha has Pratibhasika Satta. Even without Brahmajnana, when you wake up in Jagrata Avastha, the Swapna world, Swapna Prapancha, along with all its beings, cease to be, as if they were never there. They were there during the Swapna Avastha, considered as real. The dreamer did not know that he was dreaming. I, the dreamer, considered myself as a waker during the time of the dream, but as soon as I wake up, the dream ceases to be, along with the dreamer me and all the members of the dream world. I remain as a waker, and I consider that the dream was false, it was a Bhranti, it was Pratibhasika, it had Pratibhasika Satta, and now I am in Jagrata Avastha, the waking state, where this waking world exists, Jagrat Prapancha. I exist as a waker, and this world is real, but not as real as Brahma And as long as Brahmajnana does not take place, all that is happening in the Jagrata Avastha, the entire world as created by Ishvara, is existent. That is Vyavaharika Satta, also called as Mithya. For a sadhaka, it is taught to be Mithya. In this world, when I see the rope as snake, then that rope snake, Rajju Sarpa, is invalid. But during the vision of the rope as snake, I do not know the rope, I know only the snake. Therefore, I consider the snake as real. I have real fear, I have real sweat, and I have real running away from the snake to save myself. So that reality is called as Vyavaharika Satta, which is the third level, contrasted with Pratibhasika Satta as well as Paramarthika Satta. It is not Paramarthika Satta like that of other Vedantins or other Darshanikas, Astika Darshanikas, and it is not Pratibhasika also, or it is not completely non-existent also like the Shunyavadins or the Kshanika Vijnanavadins, where there is nothing really existent, but it is all either Vijnana, meaning Vritti, momentary consciousness, or Shunya, being nothing. So it is not like nihilists or it is not like realists also. So Advaita Vedantins have a third Satta. The example of Rajju Sarpa or Swapna is used by the Vedantin to say that this Prapancha is also like that. This world is also like that, and when Brahmajnana takes place, as one knows that I am Brahma, Brahmatma Eka Vijnana, meaning Brahmatmaika Vijnana, when that takes place through Mahavakyas, then one understands that I was dreaming so far, and even now as I continue, as long as my Sharira Prarabdha is there, it is like a dream. Anyway, there are three levels of Sattas, and this Bhranti that takes place, where we use the example of Rajju Sarpa, meaning the rope snake, or any other example, how did that Bhranti take place? So, one, that has to be explained. As per various darshanas, they'll use different khyatis, and then we'll say that this is similar. We, the Vedantins, meaning Advaita Vedantins, will say this is similar to the Prapancha, which is Adhyaropita, superimposed on Brahma. So one misses Brahmatma and sees the Prapancha, just like one misses the rope and sees the rope snake. So to use this example, how this example itself is possible, meaning how can one see, due to what reason or in which manner can you explain as to the rope appeared as snake. So this has to be seen through various khyatis, and that will be our next subject matter. In the next patha, we'll see that, and then we'll go back to some kind of a detail in all the darshanas and the refutations thereof simultaneously. Namaste, Dhanyavadaha, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.